our event really soon. We thank each and every single one of you for coming out. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here at the Howlin' Wolf to see Beto O'Rourke. All right, before we get started, if there's any elected officials who are inside of the building who have not signed in, please make your way to the back and come sign the list. In the meantime, you all enjoy the sweet sounds that you're hearing right now, and we will start shortly. Thank you again. Check, check, check. what I'm talking about. You know, before we get this tonight, some people said we can't pack this room. They said that Louisiana doesn't care. They said that nobody cares to hear Beto. But I would love for them to see the crowd in this room tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Before we get started, I would be remiss if I did not give a huge shout out for the people a part of the Louisiana Democratic Party delegation, those who do the hard work every single day. Some of them are inside of the building. When I call your name, just make sure you wave your hand so people can see and appreciate all that you do on behalf of our state. Mr. Dustin Granger. Go, Dustin. Sandra Green Thomas. Councilman Eugene Green. James A. Gray, in the building. Mandy Landry. Where's she at? You gotta love Mandy. See you back there. And Stephen Meadow. Make some noise. Right in the back. Before we bring out our special guests, I want you all to understand why you are here tonight, why we called this meeting to take place in this time, in this moment inside of this city. This is the kickoff of our Fight of Our Lives tour. You see, we got to have a real conversation tonight. If we're going to talk, we're going to have a real conversation, because this is what it's all about. You have crazy people who think that your voices don't care. Let me tell you what that means. 33 hospitals across the state of Louisiana are subject for closure. Over 200,000 people who receive Medicare and Medicaid, more specifically our elderly, single moms, kids who need the help the most are the ones who are going to be affected the most. But you have people who don't even care. In the words of Barack Obama, don't boo, go vote. Let's make sure we march with our feet and do the good work. Now, I have to also let you all know that Congressman Troy Carter was supposed to be here to do the introduction tonight. Unfortunately, he had another event to go to, but he said thank you, warm welcomes, and welcome to New Orleans. Listen, people, there is no reason why we cannot take our state back. We have 1.1 million registered Democrats inside of the state of Louisiana. But this is what we need you to do. In this time and in this moment, we need you to get registered to vote. If you know someone who is not registered to vote, tell them to vote. You see, this moment is bigger than simply being a Democrat. It's bigger than being a Republican. It's bigger than being an independent. It's about life or death. And if we are not willing to stand up in this moment, in this time, and fight on behalf of our state, who will? If not now, then when? The call is upon each and every single one of you, and each and every single one of you who sits behind me on this stage. It's not about being seen, but it is about being heard. It's about that kid who sits inside of his home that sits hungry every night. They cut food stamps, the basic, essential, something that someone needs in order to live. They're cutting education. They're cutting health care. The very things you need to be a citizen and strive and survive inside of this nation. Those are the things that are being taken away. You know, there was a guy. His name was Gary. He's a welder from West Monroe. And he said, I've been paying into Medicare and Medicaid my entire life. And right upon the time where I'm supposed to retire and go into the heyday of my life, I find out that not only they're cutting it so some guy or CEO can go buy a plane and get rebates. Is it fair? Y'all not saying it like you mean it. Is it fair? That's what I'm talking about. We need you all to make sure that you spread the word. The easiest thing I can ask you to do, the simplest thing I can ask you to do, is make sure that you sign up to volunteer. Pick up your phone, remind your neighbors, remind your families, remind your kids, remind your siblings, remind your husband, remind your grandparents, remind your grandkids, because this moment This moment right here is just simply too important. It is too important. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of energy I like. Hell yeah. Say it with me. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. If you want to hear Beto roar, say hell yeah. If you're ready to fight back, say hell yeah. If you're ready and you live in this moment and you're tired of the oppression that's happening right now, say hell yeah. If you think that we can actually win, say hell yeah. If you believe in this moment, say hell yeah. Well, let's do it. All right. Been in my soapbox long enough. Y'all got me started, Lord Jesus. I'm about to pass the collection plate, but I'm going to keep it in my pocket. All right. For the moment we all been waiting for. This guy, and if I did not introduce myself, my name is Darius Lannis, and I'm the proud executive director for the Louisiana Democratic Party. And I want you all to know, this is a new party, an inclusive party, a diverse party, an equitable party, because that's what we represent. Anybody, no matter where you come from, if you're a Republican, guess what? We'll still bring you in. If you're an independent, guess what? We want you to come and vote with us. We're going to fight for you regardless. But back to this man who has been traveling this country, going city to city, state by state. This man lives in Texas, but he's been traveling all across this country, fighting and hearing your voices. He has run for office before, so he's put himself on the line. He's run for U.S. representative when he won. Then he ran against a joke of a person named Ted Cruz. I know. Trust me, I know. I get it. And it was one of the closest races in U.S. history. Now, he could have allowed that race or that loss to define him, and he could have quit. He didn't do that. He continued fighting. In fact, he founded an organization that is called For the People. If I said that wrong, please correct me. Powered by the people, I'm sorry. And they have been going state by state, city by city, fighting and fighting and fighting. In fact, I was just backstage and he said, anything that Louisiana needs, you let me know and we will provide resources. And that's the kind of fighter that we need traveling our country. I told him backstage, he said, man, how's the crowd looking? I said, no, I want you to come see it for yourself. So without further ado, and y'all better make some noise when he comes out. Beto O'Rourke!
Hey, thank you. You're really good. Really good. Hey, everybody. Yo. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yo. Yeah. Darius, thank you. Thank you all. Please have a seat if you've got a seat. Have a beer if you haven't ordered a beer. Tip your server generously. Let's hear it for Howlin' Wolf, for Howie and the team here. I mean, this is the right way to do politics, right? To be in a concert hall with an amazing band. Let's hear it for the band. So it looks like, from the folks who are here, and it sure sounds like, from listening to Darius, that you all did not get the memo from the Democratic National Committee that Louisiana is not supposed to count in our national elections. You see, last year they spent $1 billion in 7 states, none of which were named Louisiana or Texas or Mississippi or Alabama. It's almost as though the other 43 states didn't count. And yet here you are right now, because you know that you count, that Louisiana matters. And Darius told me backstage that there are actually more registered Democrats in the state of Louisiana than there are Republicans. So I think we know this is not a red state, this is a rigged state. And we're going to work to unrig the motherfucker, right? That's what it's going to take. And it also makes me happy to be here and happy to see you all, because it has been mighty grim in this country as of late. Just to bring everyone onto the same page, in the 6 months since Donald Trump was sworn into the highest office in the land, he has defied the co-equal federal courts, ruling after ruling after ruling. He has dismantled congressionally chartered and appropriated agencies and departments. He has colluded with corrupt public officials. He has covered up for child sex traffickers and rapists with whom he may be implicated. The Lord right now only knows. And he has sought to dispense with every single constitutional safeguard and protection that until now, over the last 249 years, has kept us a nation of laws and not kings. And then to go one step further, my home state of Texas, he seeks to steal 5 congressional seats in broad daylight right now in the summer of 25, trying to steal the election of 26. Because here's the deal. He knows this as well as you. The stuff that he's doing right now is so deeply unpopular in America. The cuts to Medicaid, the terrorizing our fellow hardworking Americans with these Gestapo tactics in city after city, state after state, the transferring of hundreds of billions of dollars of our wealth to the richest 1% in America. People don't like this stuff. And if the election were held on this current trajectory, there is no way he maintains his majority in the House of Representatives. And if he loses that majority, well, then there's going to be a check on his lawlessness. There's going to be accountability for his crimes and his corruption. And there will be the prospect of free and fair elections held in this country in 2028. And so when I look at that, and I think we are up against literally the most powerful man on the planet, who is backed by the wealthiest people in the world, bar none. He has the House, he has the Senate, he has the Supreme Court, the best that money can buy. He has state legislatures and governor's mansions across the country. Who are we against all of that, right? And then out of this temptation to despair emerge 54 Democrats from the state of Texas who broke quorum earlier this week, left the state of Texas to deny their Republican colleagues the numbers necessary to redraw these maps and steal these 5 seats. And listen, this stuff is not easy. They are being pursued, hunted down, in the words of the Attorney General, by the DPS state troopers in Texas. John Cornyn today is crowing over Twitter that he convinced Kash Patel to send the long arm of the FBI against these runaway legislators in Illinois or wherever they are right now. They're being fined $500 a day to a person. They also have to pay for their lodging, their flights, their food, their defense costs, because Governor Greg Abbott is doing 2 things. 1, threatening to indict them on second-degree felony charges. I mean, for God only knows what. And then second, he's already filed with the Texas Supreme Court to vacate the seats of these 54 legislators who are not doing anyone's business but the business of America, defending this Constitution and this country against a would-be tyrant and fascist. So right now, those 54 stand between us and almost unstoppable consolidation of authoritarian power. If these last 6 months are prelude to what the next 3.5 years are going to be, just imagine if we fail to stop this steal in Texas. So I am asking you, if you want to be in this fight, if you want to have their backs, I want you to do the following. I want you to text the word FIGHT to 20377. If you text FIGHT to 20377, we're going to send you a link back on your phone. You click on that and you'll be able to donate directly to these Texas legislators. It's $2, it's $20, it's $200, whatever you want to give. The money's important for sure. They need it. But the moral support and the encouragement, when they see this coming in from New Orleans, Louisiana, of all places, just like we did in Oklahoma City last night, Omaha, Nebraska the night before, Kansas City, Missouri the night before that, Indianapolis, Indiana before that, Milwaukee. They're seeing this entire country get behind them and have their backs. And they need it because they have the most powerful people in this country pursuing them right now at great personal risk to themselves. So are you all with me in getting behind these Texas Democrats right now? They need us, and we need them. We're in this together. And just so everyone's clear on the terms and the stakes of this fight, if we fail, I mentioned that the consolidation of power in the hands of one man in this country may be nearly unstoppable. And this is what that means, just in real terms that we can understand. It means more masked, plainclothes federal agents without warrants or badges, sweeping our family members and fellow Americans up off the streets. It means more of Trump's political opponents targeted for retribution, for vengeance, for persecution, and yes, even for violence. And it means that it is more likely that a Republican majority Congress, those cowardly quislings who are so corrupt with the power that they see in Trump, they will roll out the royal red carpet for a third Trump term. That is our future. That is our fortune. That is our fate if we fail now at this moment of truth. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we just absolutely cannot be found wanting. We must fight with everything we have, no matter where we are. And that includes right here in New Orleans, Louisiana, tonight in August of the year of our Lord, 2025. The future is counting on us alive today. But I want to change the terms of the fight. So hang with me on this one. So often, and we all heard this and maybe participated in it in the first Trump term, we talked about fighting back. We talked about reacting. We were always responding. We talked about a resistance. And listen, I get it. There's some romance to the idea of being in the resistance, but there was a resistance in Germany after the fall of the Weimar Republic. There was a resistance in Vichy, France. There was a resistance in Poland. There was a resistance in the ghettos. But that resistance for far too many millions came too little and too late. I do not want to be about resisting. I want to be about taking this fight to those motherfuckers and winning it everywhere across the country. Whatever it takes, whoever we need to take on, we need to do this. We need to get off the back foot and onto the front foot, away from defense and onto offense. No longer awaiting the punch thrown by these would-be fascists, but throwing our punch first and throwing our punch harder. You with me on this? So that means having the backs of these Texas legislators. That means organizing, yes, here in New Orleans, but it means organizing in Shreveport. In Mike Johnson's district, more Democrats than there are Republicans. Imagine if we take that guy down in 2026. Change the world. And how about this? What if we encourage our Democratic governors who have control of their state assemblies and their state senates to seize the initiative and not wait for these bastards in Texas to strike first, but they redraw their congressional districts to the advantage of Democrats? You may not like this, and it may not fit with the ethics and the morals and the instructions, the color within the lines that we've long lived by in this country. But my contention is that Democrats for far too long have cared more about being right than being in power. The other side only cares about being in power, and we have to match fire with fire, or we will lose power forever. It means continuing to protest and to rally. No kings, hands off, indivisible, the Democratic Party here in Louisiana. This stuff is breaking through. Abraham Lincoln, no lesser light than him. Speech he gives in 1858, he says, look, there's the power of the presidency. You got the power of the legislatures. You have the power of the courts. But more powerful than all of that is the power of the people. Public sentiment, he said, is everything. With it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. You know, you wonder why Trump's signature policy issue, immigration, is polling at 35%. You wonder why his economic policies are polling even lower than that. You wonder why 90% of America who cannot agree that they love ice cream agree that the Epstein files should be released right now because we know that Donald Trump is implicated in them. That's because you've been showing up in person, getting in front of your fellow citizens, and sharing the truth in a post-truth world where the masters of algorithm and influence are brainwashing us and our kids right before our eyes. Being together in meetings like this, face to face, human to human, eyeball to fucking eyeball, is the most profoundly powerful thing that we can do. Nothing exceeds it. Nothing even matches it. Everything else is interference and a poor substitute. So if you see a protest, go to that. If you don't see one, organize one. Get out there on the streets. Meet your fellow Louisianans. Meet your fellow Americans. Meet your fellow human beings where they are. And as we heard earlier, it doesn't matter. No me importa. If you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, you are welcomed in this movement. The broadest possible coalition, a united front for all of America, right? We should be able to do this. But in addition, y además, to fighting these people, these would-be fascists, these tyrants, these authoritarians, and we must fight them, we also have to be able to tell ourselves and our family members and our friends and our fellow Americans just what it is that we're fighting for. You know, I think a lot of people got confused by Democrats in 2024. We kept hearing them say, you know, we're out here trying to save our democracy. And folks were asking, what democracy are you talking about? In Texas, it is harder to register to vote or cast a ballot than in any other state in the union. Millions are disenfranchised, totally drawn out of their ability to participate in our politics. In America, one man can spend $300 million influencing the outcome of a presidential election. In America, thanks to Citizens United, corporations are people, money is speech, and corporations can spend unlimited amounts of money influencing, outright purchasing the outcomes of these elections, these legislators, and the policies and the future that they pursue. So here's what I propose. Instead of talking about saving something that never was, what if we get busy building something that's worth saving in the first place? A democracy where every single one of us counts. A democracy where we overturn Citizens United, so it's just people and not corporations. We get big money out of politics. We pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. 60 years and a day since LBJ sat in the White House on the 6th of August, 1965, and signed the Voting Rights Act into law. That was made possible by that man, John Lewis, who at 24 years old, in March of that year, led a march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, willing to sacrifice his life so he could realize, not for himself and not just for people who look like him, but for all of us of all ages and generations, this promise first laid down in 1776, that because we are all the same, because we are all created equal, we should expect to be treated equally under the law. Really a high point for America, from which, especially in the last 20 years, we have descended into something far less than a democracy. So if we will do these things and listen to our fellow Americans who tell us that they want term limits on every office at every level of government so that we have more turnover, more young people holding these offices, we get, after we win power, politicians out of redistricting at all. Give that back to the people. Give all the power back to the people. But that political democracy that I'm talking about right now, it will not be possible if we don't also have an economic democracy as well. The way I see it, and as I listen to people, if the folks that we care about in our lives cannot get what they need, and they are not asking for much, if they can't get what they need from a government of the many, soon enough they're open to getting what they need from a government of the few. They're open to getting what they need from a government of only one if nothing else will deliver. And as I listen to them, they're asking for simple things like, hey, can I work just one job and that be enough to be able to take care of my kids, meet the note on the mortgage because I can afford to buy a house now? Can I be able to see a doctor when I'm sick, a doctor before I'm sick, take my kid to a behavioral health specialist so that they are okay and ready to learn over the course of the day? Can I, as an educator, afford to teach school in the state of Louisiana without having to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet? And it is not as though we don't have the resources. We are the wealthiest, the most powerful country on the face of the planet in the entirety of human history. We don't lack for resources, only the political will to use them justly. And speaking about justice, I want to make sure that in this country, as we imagine a better future that we can all fight for, that we treat one another with the respect and dignity that we deserve. There are too many, not just on the right, but increasingly on the left, who see trans Americans, for example, as politically expedient, either as targets on one side or as a political liability on the other. We should stand with trans Americans wherever they are under attack so that they know we have not forsaken our commitment to each and every one of us, no matter who you are. And how about women making their own decisions about their own body and their own future? That's the future I want to see. You think it can't get done? 1973, abortion was just as obscenely outlawed in the state of Texas as it is today. No one rode to our rescue. In fact, it was 3 young Texas women, Jane Roe, whose name you know, Linda Coffey, one of her attorneys, Sarah Weddington, the other attorney. The most complicated case that 26-year-old attorney had ever taken on was a no-contest divorce. And yet she and her law partner prevail upon an all-male United States Supreme Court in that year to confer protection for the right that you were born with as a woman, to make these decisions yourself without government interference. Texas women save the day, not just for Texas women, but for this country. So, message to Donald Trump. Do not fuck with the women of Texas or Louisiana or anywhere in America if you know what's good for you. Ultimately, we will win. But those human rights extend beyond our borders. As the most powerful country on the planet, it comes with certain responsibilities, like ensuring going forward. And imagine this one. No longer being complicit in the bombing and the starving and the slaughtering of children in Gaza day in, day out. What if instead we use the awesome power of this country to work with the nations of that region, the nations of the world, if that's what it takes, to establish a sovereign, independent state for the Palestinian people, to stop talking about it and move forward with it, and then work for the safety of every Palestinian, every Israeli, every person in that region. Imagine sowing peace and reaping prosperity, not just for the Middle East, but for our fellow Americans who right now are subsidizing the bombs and the ammunition and the shells that we're sending that are killing absolutely innocent children today. And if we bring that same logic back home and we stop these warrantless arrests, these guys jumping out of vans and kidnapping our fellow Americans. I've got a 17-year-old daughter. And when I saw the footage of, I don't know who they were because they were masked and they were unbadged. I don't think they had warrants. When they arrested that young woman outside of Tufts University for having the audacity to write an opinion piece in her student newspaper, all right? High crimes here. I thought, man, if that was my daughter and I was witness to whoever was, as that person was taking that video, if I was witness to that, I would fear the worst. Are they kidnapping her? Are they going to torture her? Are they going to rape her? Are they going to kill her? What is going to happen to her? We do not know. We do not know. They're using a law from 1793 that has only been invoked in the War of 1812, World War I, and World War II to intern Japanese Americans, not something we're proud of today, to do this to the hardest working people in our country right now. So what if, instead of that, we recommitted ourselves to the Constitution, to the Bill of Rights, to ideas like due process and being able to mount a defense and have the facts known for the judge, for the press, for the public, for your family members, before you're deported to a gulag in El Salvador, out from which you will never, ever come again, because that's exactly what they want to happen right now. And then we go beyond that. And this is a message from my fellow Democrats. You know, present company excluded on this sin, but this is a big one for our party. For as long as I can remember, I've heard Democrats talking about comprehensive immigration reform. It is standard boilerplate in any campaign speech for president, for Senate, for Congress, all the way down the ballot. And yet we had political power after we won in 2008 the White House, the House, and the Senate. We had political power after we won the White House, the House, and the Senate in 2020. And we made absolutely no progress on this issue. And listen, voters can be forgiven for wondering, do these guys really mean what they're talking about? And I don't judge those who were with us before and got tired of waiting and took their chance on another guy. Maybe they didn't like every single thing he was doing, but at least he was going to do something. So here's my proposal. Next time we win political power, we drive the car like we stole it. We legalize every dreamer, every dreamer's parents, every hardworking American doing backbreaking work in this country right now, making us so great and successful to begin with, even greater as U.S. citizens. Because on immigration, I'm going to guess that most of us are on the same page. We want to have control of our border. We want to know who's coming into this country. We want to be protected from violent criminals, whether they were born in Louisiana or the state of Chihuahua. That's just human nature. We're all on the same page. But don't buy what they're selling. No immigrant has ever taken anything from us. Immigrants are giving far more to the United States than they could ever draw down right now. And I know it from my hometown of El Paso, one of the greatest places on the planet, because it is a city of immigrants. And then lastly, I want you to imagine a Democratic Party that actually fights for these things, that doesn't submit or bend the knee or roll over or bend over, but instead fights on every front, in every state, in every county, and every parish in every state. We ensure that no Republican seat goes uncontested. We ensure that every American voter hears our vision, our dream, our platform, how this country will be better when Democrats are in power. Now, if we do that, I think we can avert the worst of the catastrophe that is surely headed our way if we let the moment pass. And for those who doubt whether this is possible, whether we can confront these powerful people who control the country right now, whether we are enough against all of them, I want you to remember, in closing, who we are, where we come from, and what we're made of. For these 249 years, whatever they've thrown at us, whatever the odds, when we banded together, we've overcome it. The British Empire, the most powerful force on the planet, we secured our independence from them so that we would never again be ruled by a king. The armies of the Confederacy, 300,000 Union dead, to bring them to their knees, to that moment at that courthouse in Appomattox in 1865, and to ensure that never again could another American wring their bread from the sweat of another man's face. In 1944, men from this very community landed on those beaches in Normandy to defeat fascism half a world away, to protect democracy here at home and for our allies. And it wasn't even a generation later that brave, proud, courageous Americans marched and fought and sat in and nonviolently and peacefully and democratically won the full civil and political rights for every American, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of country, of national origin. All of that service, all of that sacrifice, all of that history, all of that struggle, it now comes down to us. And what we do with this inheritance is going to define us in the eyes of history, and it will determine what is possible going forward for this country. So I beg of you tonight, do not allow this moment to pass without a fight. Do what you can with what you have wherever you are. And do not let them tell you that New Orleans and Louisiana does not count, because this might be the place that wins back power in America to save the country. You all with me? I'm with you too. Thank you for coming out here tonight. We're going to take some questions, some suggestions, some ideas from you. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you for moving that fan. Yeah. So, Darini Patel, where are you, Darini?
I'm to your right, Beto.
Okay, Darini Patel has another microphone, and we want to get as many voices into the conversation as we can. You're welcome to ask a question. I'll do my best to try to answer it. Even better, if you propose an idea or a solution to a problem that you're working on, let me learn from you and share what you're doing with others that I meet with around the country. So get Darini's attention. Darini, raise your hand, because I don't know if people can see you where you are. And if you raise your hand, she'll try to come over to you.
Okay, but first, Darius has something to say to the crowd.
Absolutely. First of all, make some noise for the man. I'm going to just slither through. Before we go into question and answer, first I want to just say, man, this is the energy we need. People don't understand how hot it is on this stage. It is extremely hot. But guess what? He did his thing. Make sure you get your bottle of water. Louisiana, I would be remiss if I did not do a last-minute call to action. You see, it's one thing for us to bring people into our state to help us fight. Texas is doing their part. You see, when they found out that people want to gerrymander districts, that's what they did. They got the hell out of Texas and said they're not coming back. Now, see, we got to fight a little bit different. So for everybody inside of this room, right now, I count at least 2,000 people inside of this room, and that's phenomenal. Make some noise for yourselves again. Here is my call to action. 2 simple words. Get involved. How do you get involved? Go to www.louisianadems.org. You can sign up and create events. You all can find out what events we have coming up. You can find out the next dates on our tour. But the easiest, most simplest thing I'm asking you to do tonight, I'm begging you to do tonight, is to donate. We cannot do this fight alone. We're fighting for you. We're fighting for your kids. We're fighting for your families. We're fighting for your neighborhoods. We're fighting for your city. We're fighting for your towns. We're fighting for you. And we cannot do it without your help. Imagine if we had everybody in this room give $1, that's $2,000. If everybody inside of this room gave $5, that's $10,000. If everybody inside of this room gave $20, imagine what we can do. This fight can't continue. We can bring the fight to them, but we have to first figure out how we fight. And the way that we fight, again, is 2 simple words. Get involved, stay involved, get involved inside of this fight, y'all. Thank you. Going back to you.
Here we go. All right, we're going to take some questions. As Darini finds the first person who's gonna speak, I'm gonna quickly just acknowledge 2 more people who are here. You know, you all, when you hear MAGA, you think one thing, but in Texas, MAGA means Mothers Against Greg Abbott, and Nancy Thompson, who runs Mothers Against Greg Abbott, is here. You're doing great. You're doing really good. And he flew in all the way from Iowa just to be with you, potential U.S. Senate candidate in that state, J.D. Scholten. He's a man. All right, Darini.
Okay, our first question is here.
Beto, do you know about Ice Block, and can you talk about it, the app on iPhones?
Is this an app that alerts people where there are ICE raids taking place, or where there will be ICE raids taking place?
In a 5-mile radius, the way that Waze works, it alerts when they're in a 5-mile radius around you. The challenge is it's only good for iPhones because iPhones are so encrypted. But I've been telling everybody I see working in my neighborhood, and I was in San Francisco, did the same thing with the Lyft and the Uber drivers. I think it's really important that any of us who have iPhones get Ice Block. It's free. Look it up on YouTube. The guy's interviewed on every news media. Lots in Texas, actually.
Yeah. Let's bring some other people into this conversation about ICE, because, you know, if you were to bring this up at the dinner table with your folks or your brother-in-law or your conservative grandfather, like, what are you talking about Ice Block? Why do you warn people who are illegals, who are criminals, who are thugs, who are gangbangers, who are terrorists? I mean, I want to protect this country. And you say, look, I want to protect this country as well. And the greatest protection we have in this country is a thing called the United States Constitution. And when people are defying the Constitution and illegally rounding up our fellow Americans, depriving them of due process and a defense, deporting them to another country, and then when they fuck up and send the wrong person to El Salvador, they say, you know what? Nothing I can do about it. They're now under the jurisdiction of another country. And then this, perhaps one of the most chilling things that has happened in this country over the last 6 months. That big, beautiful bill that we all hate. I don't know if you know this, but there's $45 billion in that bill for new ICE detention construction. Now, ask yourself this. Ask yourself this. If we have the lowest levels of immigration into this country in the history of this country, and we do, if we're seeing the greatest sweeps of our fellow Americans up off the streets and deported out of this country, which we are now witness to at this moment. If we already have the greatest detention capacity we've ever had as a country, why are we building $45 billion worth of new detention capacity? I'll tell you what, we don't know this for a fact, but Donald Trump has warned us about coming for the homegrowns and the political opponents, and his executive order to end birthright citizenship, which was guaranteed in 1868 under the 14th Amendment. You know, he expects you, just like he doesn't expect you to hang out with the trans kid who's being targeted right now because it's political inconvenient for both parties. He doesn't expect you to stand next to the immigrant because he's branded them as animals and rapists and criminals and terrorists. But here's what happens if we don't stand next to those immigrants who are being rounded up right now. Next they come for the U.S. citizen children of immigrants because of this executive order that may be ratified by the Supreme Court. Then they come for the political enemies who are on a stage in New Orleans talking about ICE block. They're seen as a danger and a threat to this country. We better round them up and detain them and deport them. And then they're in another country. There's nothing we can do to get them back. We learned this in a poem that told us they came for the socialists. And because I wasn't a socialist, I didn't say anything. They came for the trade unions. I'm not a member. I didn't say a word. They came for the Jews. And because I'm not Jewish, I did not feel like I had to speak up. And then when they came for me, there was no one left to say a thing. That is happening in real time right now. So if you don't already have ICE block, get that. If you can go to the federal courthouse in the communities in which you live and bear witness to these immigrants who are lawfully showing up at their hearings and then being abducted and sent away without any notice to anyone, including their families. We need you there right now. This is a time for action. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, our next question's over here.
Hi, thank you for being here. You mentioned that there are more registered Democrats in Louisiana than Republicans. What is a real strategy that we can use to flip Louisiana? Like we've seen Georgia is essentially purple now. How can we flip to purple if not blue?
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll just give you my experience. The folks in Louisiana are going to have a better answer about Louisiana than I do. But Texas had one of, if not the worst levels of voter turnout prior to our run for U.S. Senate in 2018. And as you may know, we traveled to each one of the 254 counties of Texas. We held meetings just like these in every part of the state. You could not be so red that we would write you off. You could not be so blue that we would take you for granted. We were going to earn the vote of each and every single Texan participating in that election. It took me 2 years to cover those 254 counties. In other words, nothing easy. You can't do this digitally. It will not be accomplished with money or technology. It's this everywhere. And at the end of the day, though we came up a little bit short against Ted Cruz, some mornings I wake up and I think maybe we beat Ted Cruz in that race, but I don't know, 2.5%. Here's what else happened. 12 insurgent Democrats defeated 12 entrenched incumbent Republicans in the state house in Texas. 2 Democratic challengers defeated 2 Republican incumbents for the United States House of Representatives. One of them was Colin Allred. And in Harris County, home to Houston, Texas, 17 black women won election to judicial positions in the most diverse city in America. We saw the largest voter turnout in Texas history. So, you know, some people say, what is that silver bullet magic message that's going to turn all these people out who aren't voting right now? It doesn't exist. What is the amount of money that we need to spend in Louisiana to give everybody up? Money is a necessary evil. That's not going to fix it either. It is finding and fielding the candidates who are going to show up and authentically and honestly engage with the people that they want to serve, learn from them, reflect what they're hearing, campaign like there's no tomorrow. And in that way, we have a chance of winning districts that we have no business representing otherwise, because they have become so rigged, so suppressed, so voter intimidated. This is the only way we're going to get through it. Everywhere, all at once, with everyone. Thank you for asking the question. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Mr.
Beto,
Rini.
right in front of you, Beto.
Okay, I'll trust you.
Thank you so much for being here, Beto. We really appreciate it. You know the Latino vote better than anybody else in Texas. And if, God forbid, the Republicans get their way, isn't there a possibility that this will backfire on them, given that every Latino in Texas is probably going to be aware of someone who's been deported by ICE in a violent manner? Thank you for asking the question. Listen, as those of you who live in communities like New Orleans or my hometown of El Paso know, this stuff's pretty complicated. And there's some assumptions, good faith assumptions that get made, but sometimes they're wrong. Like, you know, if you're brown, that you are an immigrant. A lot of people who live in the Rio Grande Valley, who live in Eagle Pass, who live in Del Rio, who live in El Paso, they lived in those cities before there was a United States of America. You know, they didn't cross the border. The border crossed them, actually. And they're like 6th, 7th, 8th generations in these communities. And sometimes Democrats, again, with the best of intentions, national Democrats, present company excluded, they'll show up in these communities and they'll say, because your community is 98% Mexican American, I'm only going to talk about immigration because you brown people only care about that issue. You know what? We care about the jobs that we work, the schools that our kids go to, our ability to see a doctor, everything that everybody else cares to. The pandering to people based on race, ethnicity, national origin, that shit has got to stop, or we're going to continue to lose people in these communities. The other thing that Democrats have done wrong, and I'm sorry to beat up on the party, but we're not going to get there unless we acknowledge our mistakes, is we do not show up in these places because we have presumed that if you're black, your vote is in the bank. If you're brown, your parents, your grandparents voted for us. Why would I bother taking 2 airplanes to get to Harlingen, Texas, or Donna, Texas, to show up in a place that has 45% voter turnout? I'm going to go chase the white suburban soccer mom in Denton or Collin. She's the shiny new object out there. Look, she's important. But so are the people who brought us to the dance in the first place, and we ignore them going forward at our peril. So how do we win, to the spirit of this question, how do we win back people that we have lost in these border counties in Texas? And it's the same answer to the last question. You have got to show up, and you've got to do the work. You've got to listen to people. You cannot assume anything about anyone. Every single vote from every single voter must be earned. And then when we win power, we really have to use it. And listen, I love Joe Biden. I think he did amazing things as president. He cut childhood poverty in half in the state of Texas. That's pretty damn important to me. He got more people enrolled in healthcare, saving lives, really important. Invested in infrastructure, biggest climate bill ever. But where the hell was the progress on these issues in real time that people could feel? Where was the accountability for people who were committing crimes? I mean, I hope that Merrick Garland has a nice retirement, but he had 4 fucking years to put Donald Trump away for the crimes that he committed in broad daylight in this country. We did not use the power to move forward on immigration. We did not use the power to move forward on voting rights. And when we passed those big, beautiful pieces of legislation, we did not get shovels in the ground. We did not see change in our lives soon enough. We have to push power to its absolute limit, or we will not have power going forward. So that is true for the community you asked about. I think it is true for every part of America. Thank you for asking. All right, Doreen, I'm looking for you.
Okay, I'm to your left, Beto, at the back, over here. Over here. To your right.
I just don't know where
to
over
your
here
right.
is.
Over here.
Okay.
Oh. Hi. I just wanted to ask, there's a problem that I've seen in the Democratic Party for the last 20 years as I grew up in a family party and as I worked as a staffer on city council campaigns, school board campaigns. The party has had a problem of not actually engaging the grassroots. Ever since like 2008, it has been a party of consultants that come every 2 to 4 years and not one that has events and is in the community. I remember as a kid, I'm from Florida, we would have low country boils all the time where we would just hang out with other members of the party. Not for any political reason, but we knew each other. And so when you asked someone to volunteer, it was a lot easier because, well, you knew that guy. That it wasn't like, oh, it's some faceless number asking you for a couple dollars. It's someone you knew was like, hey, come to this event, meet the candidates at the local level, and actually start from the bottom up. How do we get back to that? How do we get the party to no longer be seen as the party of the consultants that come every 2 to 4 years, have the flashy events, and then disappear from the local community?
Yeah, great question. You know, I'm a kid of the 70s, born in 72. My dad was in El Paso County Democratic Party politics. He was a county commissioner, later a county judge. Politics was fun back then. It was people in backyards in the lower valley drinking Coors, listening to music, gathering, being together. Politics is people. Democracy is people. It is not the soulless consultant industrial complex, the barrage of text messages and emails. I get the allure. It's really efficient. It's really effective at raising a shit ton of money in a really short period of time without ever having to talk to another human being. But it is missing the soul and the common sense of politics that left so many of our fellow Americans cold in 2024 and elections before that. Our secret power, you mentioned the grassroots, is as simple as what we are doing right now. Just being together, talking to one another, meeting people at their doors. There is no more profound show of respect than showing up and meeting someone where they are. When I was running for Congress in 2012, spoiler alert, this is a race that I actually won. We were running against an incumbent. He'd been in there 8 terms. He was outspending us 5-1. We made a virtue of a necessity. We literally had not a single paid person in the campaign. It was all volunteers. I knocked on doors every single day, all day, sun up to sundown. I knocked on 16,000 doors by myself over the course of that campaign. And I remember towards the end of that campaign, I'm knocking on this woman's door, and she invites me in. And she says, hey, I want to tell you about my daughter, who's a school teacher. She's working 2 jobs. It's tough for her right now. I want to tell you about my grandson, who just enlisted in the Marines. I'm so damn proud of him. We sat on her couch, drank coffee probably half an hour before I went on to the next house. We never talked about politics. I never recited talking points that had been poll tested and approved by some consultant like you're talking about. And I just went on my way. That next Monday, this is like 2 weeks out from the election, I'm walking into a diner in El Paso, and this guy stops me, and he says, are you Beto? I say, I am. And he said, well, last Thursday, you knocked on my grandmother's door. And you may not know this, but every Sunday, she has me and my 32 other cousins over to her house for menudo. And she made each and every single one of us promise to vote for you. So I don't know who you are, but you're going to win this election, and we did. That's what we got to get back to. No more consultants. All right.
Okay,
Ms. Serini.
next question is over here.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth, and first I want to address the people of Louisiana. I'm from the north, and I moved here a year ago, and y'all don't know how bad the people in power are neglecting you. I mean, back home, my kids get 2 years free college. Democrats, like, oh, okay, well, you know, we're trying to work on it, but I was just blown away when this entire state voted no on all 4 of Jeff Landry's. You know, I just couldn't believe that. You know, it is possible, but I'm going to have to call you out on something, and I love you, by the way.
Hit me.
Slavery never ended in America. It was rebranded as mass incarceration. I made $5.25 a month working 40 hours a week as a federal inmate. That didn't even buy tampons. We had to make our own and risk infections. So, you know, I know women who had to show their menstruation to cops before it was even considered, given the dignity of, you know, feminine hygiene. And then I see on TV Israeli hostages being let out of Hamas's, you know, being held hostage, and they were given tampons, they were given medical care. So you want to call them terrorists? Fine, let's call them terrorists, just so nobody gets upset about anti-Semitism. Why are terrorists better at humanity than American institutions?
I mentioned that I was in Oklahoma City last night, and a guy stood up at the back, and he said, "Hey, Beto, I like everything you're saying. I agree with you 100%, but I'll never vote for you because I'm a felon, and I won't have voting rights for the next 30 years of my life." And for those on paper in the state of Texas on probation or parole, those in jail awaiting trial, haven't been convicted of anything, you're innocent in this country until you are proven guilty, unable to cast a ballot in a country that tells the rest of the world that we're the greatest democracy. Say what you will about China or Russia or Iran or North Korea. We put more of our own people behind bars than any of those countries do.
25% of the global incarceration rate, and they gaslight us with land of the free.
That's exactly right. And in Texas, I mean, you guys, I think, come in a close second or third. We incarcerate more of our own people in Texas than any other state in the union. Many of them, they're serving terms for nonviolent drug crimes, like possession of a plant that is legal in most of the rest of the country right now, disproportionately black and brown, deprived of their full civil rights, including their voting rights, even after they have served their time, right? So, you're right. Not only had that institution not fully ended, and I saw that amazing Ava DuVernay documentary 13th on this, but we still have this going on in America in the year of our Lord, 2025. So thank you for sharing this tonight, and thank you for being here.
Okay,
All right, Ms.
our
Serini.
next question's over here.
Thank you for being here. I needed this. I needed to get some positivity and excitement and enthusiasm.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for this. We have this perception of the Republican Party as being old white guys. But there is that perception, at least my perception, a lot of the Democratic Party is a lot of old white guys. And especially when you see someone like David Hogg, who has come up from Parkland and has built such an incredible community around gun reform and standing up and creating a way for young people to step into leadership roles. Bipartisan, doesn't matter who you are, we're going to train you to be a leader. And then he gets elected as a co-chair on the Democratic Party, and then 2 weeks later they bounce him out. That, I think, is one of the biggest issues I see, is we see the Republicans one way, but the top of the Democratic Party right now is just as bad. When do we start to see more Kamala Harris? When do we get to see more David Hogg? When do we get to see more of this wonderful gentleman who was our MC tonight? That's what I want the Democratic Party to be.
I love that. Yeah, the way I look at it, and I think we're on the same page, this moment calls for less Chuck Schumer and more David Hogg, right? It's one of the reasons I believe in term limits. We need to give young people a chance to move up in leadership. We need a fight right now. All right, Ms. Durini.
Okay, next question's over here.
Hello. Who are the Democrats supporting against Bill Cassidy, and what's the plan to get them elected?
Anyone here running against Bill Cassidy? Anybody want to make an announcement? Well, whoever that person is, they're going to need all of us, right? And so working right now in August of 25 to reach and register the voters to add net new Democrats to the rolls so that we add to the majority of registration in this state is a good start. And then personally, in person, staying in touch with these voters is absolutely essential. So in Texas, we're running a program with Powered by People where we post up on every college campus, every community college campus, every technical college campus, every union hall that we can get into. And we find eligible, unregistered voters in the state of Texas who otherwise would have to find a printer, print out a form, fill it out accurately, get an envelope, find a stamp. Do you know an 18-year-old who's ever bought a stamp in their lives? Send that in to the county registrar in the county of their residence, and there's 254 of them. We show up with our sworn, deputized, volunteer deputy registrars. We register them in person, but then we do this. Because Texas, maybe like Louisiana, is the toughest state in the nation in which to cast a ballot, we do not allow them to fend for themselves. Our volunteers, empowered by people, personally stay in touch with that newly registered voter. Literally, when I register someone at the El Paso Community College campus, I get their cell phone number. I text them on the spot. I say, save that number. That's me. In 30 days, I say, hey, Julie, did you get your voter registration card from the Secretary of State? If she says no, I say, let me track that down for you. And I get it. Right before early voting, Julie, early voting's coming up. Here's your nearest polling location. Here are the hours. Here are the candidates, because we're a partisan organization that align with your values and views. I want to make sure you vote. And then check this out. We stay on top of Julie every day of early voting until we can confirm that she has cast her ballot. Every single day. A person, not an automated text message, not a bot, not the Democratic National Committee, not the Call 'Em All Red campaign. A human being says, hey, Julie, I met you eye to eye on that community college campus. I want to make sure you vote. Check this out. Young voter turnout. Voters 18 to 29 years old in America in 2024 turned out at a rate of 42%. Texas, which always performs below the national average, those young people who got registered and we stayed in touch with in our program, they turned out at a rate of 79% in that last election. So whoever's running against Cassidy, let's make sure that we build the voter movement behind them so that they can win. Thank you for asking.
Okay, Beto, I'm in the back. We have the first vice chair of the Louisiana Dems who would like to answer that question too.
Great.
Hey, y'all. I'm Katie Darling. I'm the first vice chair of the Louisiana Democratic Party. I ran against Steve Scalise in 2022, and we are going to have a candidate running against Steve Scalise, Mike Johnson.
Yes.
Against Julia Letlow, against Clay Higgins. Some of those candidates are in the room tonight. And so we are going to contest every race, and what we need from you all is precinct organizers. There are 3,785 precincts to organize, and we need you to get up under these candidates. We are going to run across the state, and we need all of you to make a difference come midterms and election day.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
And-
Beto.
So the question, Doreen, if you could return the microphone to the vice chair. The question is, how do people help? Where do they go to find the names of these candidates, to volunteer on these campaigns, to sign up with the Louisiana Democratic Party, and actually get to work right now in August of 25?
So we have our website, of course, and also my phone number
Okay.
is 504-206-6086. But you can go to our website and sign up. Darius Lannis is our executive director.
LouisianaDems.org. Is that the right place to go?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Sign up to volunteer.
And then if there are candidates in the room, when Dorini says that we're taking the last question, usually there are folks who want to stick around and say hello or take a picture, which is great. When that happens, I encourage you to come to wherever the line is and personally introduce yourself to everybody in line. This is a great opportunity to meet the people who could fuel your victory in 2026. So let's make sure that we do that campaigning here. All right, Ms. Dorini.
Okay, Beto, I'm over here with the next question.
Yeah, he's going for
Hi, Beto. I didn't think I'd get the mic. The internet. Sorry, we've been talking so much about in-person gatherings and in-person collaboration, and that means so much, but the war is being won and lost on the internet. And there was an article published around the time that Donald Trump won. Republicans are winning the war of ambient information. How do Democrats compete? All of us, none of us particularly love the internet, but we must be on it, and we are all influenced by it. How do we redirect our attention there?
All right, I like this question. Have you guys heard, you probably haven't, there's this young guy in New York named Mamdani. That guy fucking knows the internet, right? He figured out how to reach New Yorkers in a way that was absolutely captivating and compelling. And one of the ways he did it, he kind of brought the two worlds. I love the way you asked the question. He brought the in-person world and the digital world together. If you haven't seen him, he does these short TikToks where he has a microphone. And he goes throughout New York and he interviews the people that he wants to represent and serve as mayor. And he says, who did you vote for in the last election? Why did you vote for that person? What would you like to see in your city? He seeks to listen to understand, to learn, and by extension, everyone who's watching that is learning about the issues going on in New York. Then he fashioned a platform and a campaign around every single one of those issues that he learned about. Rent's too high? Let's make sure that if you're eligible, that we freeze it. Having a hard time living in the most expensive city in America? What if you didn't have to pay anything to get on that bus to go to work? Can't get fresh and healthy food into your system? What if we get the city involved in making sure that we meet the gap or cover the gap in the neighborhoods that you live in? This stuff is common sense. It's popular, and it came directly from the people, and it was transmitted on the hottest platform right now in the world, on TikTok. So, look, I know that Trump is a master of Twitter. And I know that Elon Musk now owns and is warping the platform to his evil ends. I saw Zuckerberg bend the knee. I saw Tim Cook give the gold-plated iPhone to Donald Trump yesterday. Holy shit. But we have folks on our side, these insurgents, who are figuring this stuff out. And let's learn from them, right? And let's take that same approach here in Louisiana, meeting people in person, but then transmitting these images around the country. When we ran for Senate in 2018, this is quaint now, but we Facebook live streamed the entire campaign from dawn to dusk. It was wall-to-wall coverage of me eating a cheeseburger or answering a question in a town hall or getting a haircut, inviting people into our lives, unfiltered, raw, honest, and authentic, connected us with people that we otherwise wouldn't meet. You are going to come up with your own version of that here in Louisiana. You know, creativity, necessity, those are the mothers of invention. And we're going to find our way through that. So don't be so close or quick to giving up on this internet platform. Yes, I said all these great things about people being with people. Use that energy, match it with what we can do online, and I think we'll amplify what we're doing here tonight. Thanks for asking. Appreciate it. Ms. Tarini.
Okay, I'm over here. We have time for 2 more questions.
Tell me where over here is it. There you go.
Hi, my name's Erin, and I'm a local scientist at one of the institutions here. I've worked on numerous things, including the COVID vaccine. I worked on the research for mRNA vaccines. I've worked on neurological disorders, and I'm currently working on sickle cell disease. My funding's being canceled. As we know, the institution's fundings are being canceled. Our NIH grants are being canceled. Not only that, now we're being hit with these tariffs. I just had to pay a 55% tariff on a very small piece of equipment that was supposed to come from France, but little did we know that it was made in China. Because it was made in China, I didn't have to pay that 15% tariff. I had to pay a 55% tariff on a necessary piece of equipment. My funding's already being cut. And we can't afford this in scientific institutions. If we want advancement, we need to make sure that these tariffs are taken care of now. I have written, if you are a local politician, check your spam email, because I have written everybody in government, and I'm not joking. There's nothing more that I love to do than write an angry email when I'm upset. So, what can we do as people who are having to face these tariffs? Besides just write my angry emails that go unnoticed, I will say the only good thing Bill Cassidy ever did was respond to my email, and he's the only one.
Let me ask you a question since we've got you here, because this is part of the answer. First of all, I'm sorry that all of this is happening to all of us in this country. I'm particularly sorry that it's happening to you and the necessary research you're doing. Take one more step and connect the dots of the research that you're doing and the lives that you're going to be helping. Let us understand the consequences of this funding cut, not just to you, as important as that is, but to everyone that you are doing this for.
Well, for starters, we're working on sickle cell disease that not only affects millions of Americans, but also millions of people around the world. Before that, we were working on neurological disorders. This is actually one of my former coworkers. We worked on understanding ALS. We worked on trying to figure out cures for Alzheimer's. These scientific advancements will not happen if we do not have money. We are already falling behind as a country. People aren't going to be cured from these diseases.
All right, let me ask, anyone have anybody in their family that they have lost to cancer or Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, any of these chronic conditions or disease? I'm sure it has touched every single one of us. The billions of dollars, cumulatively hundreds of billions of dollars of research funding that is being cut, not just here in Louisiana, but all over the country. It's not going to hurt the scientists the most. It's not going to hurt the universities the most. It is going to hurt you and me, our parents and our loved ones, and the people who are depending on the answers to the questions that she is pursuing right now. She asks what we can do. We have got to tell these stories. We were doing a town hall like this in Humble, Texas, and a woman stood up. Never been to a town hall, not political, would never show up at something like this. But her husband, who's 77 years old, has Parkinson's. He's about to see his Medicaid, because of this big, beautiful bill, cut. And she's 72 years old, and she said through tears in this town hall meeting, our best case scenario is that he dies before I do, because should I pass before him, he's completely out of luck. There's no state institution that he will be sent to. There is no medical care. I'm his full-time provider right now, and that is with Medicaid. Without it, where will he be? And she just said, I'm going to fight like hell to make sure that we stop this. So telling these stories to one another, I think, is so powerful. And to the gentleman's excellent point about the internet earlier, amplifying the story that you just told, the story I heard in Humble, Texas, to people everywhere. So, I don't know that I can wrap my head around hundreds of billions of dollars or this many million people cut. There are so many numbers and statistics and faceless people. But when I meet you, and I see what you're doing on right now, working on sickle cell anemia, that is going to claim the lives of people all over this planet unless we intervene right now, unless you're successful in the research you do. I'm invested. I'm bought in. I know what I'm fighting for. I know who I am fighting for right now. If we are going to win in 2026, it will not be these manufactured slogans and talking points. It is real people connecting with real people. And one more thing. This protesting that I was talking about earlier, you showing up and speaking right now, or speaking at a rally or at a protest, or showing up to that congressman's office who won't respond to your email, that stuff is breaking through right now. This president, his administration, the people associated with him are so deeply historically unpopular. And it is because of people telling their stories. So please keep doing this. Do not lose the faith. Know that we are with you in this fight, and we will prevail if we stay at it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just got to find Doreen.
Okay, Beto, I am near the door.
Sure. All right.
Okay, Beto, I'm near the door. I'm
Yep.
so sorry if I couldn't get to you. This is going to be the last question of the evening.
Hi, everyone. So sorry. My name's Eva. I'm the Environmental Caucus Chair with the Young Democrats.
Go Young Democrats.
We want to thank Beto for being here. I personally am a huge politics nerd, huge history nerd, and I so appreciate your analysis of the political moment. I feel like you really understand where we are right now. And I just wanted to say that the Young Dems are ready to figure out where we're going. There was a lot of conversation about being in community with one another, the Weimar Republic, and how democracies fail when we are not aligned with the people we're trying to make this democracy work with. And YDLA is ready to build that community. We cannot stop talking about all of the projects that we want to have. And you're here today. We want you and your mama and them walking with us tomorrow. So, like everybody's been saying, please go to lademos.org. Our website is linked there. You can also go to ydla.org, where we have our own resources. And anyone here under the age of 36, we want your friends here. We want you here. We can really make a difference. We just got to show up. And so my question for all of you, and lastly for Beto, is how do we go about showing up in our communities from here on out?
Wonderful. Thank you for saying that. I understand that the chair of the Louisiana Democratic Party is here tonight as well, right here. Mr. Chairman, thank you for joining us today. You want to say a few words?
Yeah, thanks for coming. Hey, thanks for coming out. This is a great event. Let me tell you something. The Democratic Party is on the rise. We're going to turn back the cancer that the Republicans are spreading across this country. We're going to turn discouragement into determination, complacency into courage. And we're going to make sure that the party delivers you the type of candidates that's going to turn this country around and save our democracy. So we're on our way. Stick with us. Support the party. Join the DPEX join the precincts organizations that the vice chair has talked about, and we're going to bring this party back, and we're going to take this country back, and we're going to save our democracy.
I love it. Thank you so much. All right. That brings us to the end of the program tonight. But before you go, just take a look around this room. We're 15 months out from the 2026 election. As you are tempted to despair at times or to doubt what is possible, I want you to see your fellow Americans here tonight who are going to pull you out of that temptation and into action. Action is the antidote to despair. Action is the key to victory. So let us work. Let us fight together every day going forward until we win in 2026. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Les agradezco.
Okay, New Orleans, if you would like a picture with Beto, please enter from that side of the stage. Please, if you want a picture with Beto, please enter from the American...